And this is an infamous picture in our books because of the smart building syndrome. The minute we shot this or wanted to shoot it, all the shades came down for protection because at 9 o'clock they don't want anybody looking into the building in case anybody's working there late. So I was getting some really nasty messages from the photographer. We had to run back in and open them, and thankfully got this shot. So these are just the numbers. 13 acres of native prairie vegetation was restored with half a mile of walking trails, which they do use. 32,000 square feet of rain gardens that cleanse the runoff, much of which is from the surface area. And it's probably an important point to make that we basically more than doubled the amount of square footage they had, but only increased the amount of surface area they had by a few percentage points. So it was really important to do that. 272 geothermal wells. They're 300 feet deep, and you can see the reduction in chiller operating costs by 23%. Operating costs of the heat pumps, 57% less for the hot water heaters, and in winter mode, reduction of operating costs by 29%. Here's the parking. Again, the parking was existing, but we ripped it up and put in the permeable pavers. And then actually underneath there, instead of letting it go to the Terra, we actually put a membrane to bring it into that new body of water that we had after it gets filtered, and then the parking structure. So here's the solar field that I talked about. Also on the roof. And these are great. You just literally stick them down and connect them. So great for existing structures. And then also dealing with thermal for hot water. And you can see the impact that it has. That's the cistern. And that's a man. It's enormous, so it's 30,000 gallons, and certainly we've captured all the rainwater off of the roofs here and brought it into that cistern for reuse for flushing. It's saving over 500,000 gallons. And then the shading device on the south side, of course, we do the horizontal, east and west. We've been doing, here they are being installed actually, do the vertical. As we talked about, the rain screen system, and then the underfloor area. You can see the underfloor being installed there. They also, Johnson Controls makes this great system that has personal controls, so that if you're too hot, you turn it on. If you're too cold, you turn it the other way. If you want white noise, you can turn it on, which is, from a facility person's standpoint, again, smart building is great because they don't get the phone call that everybody's hot or cold, and it doesn't put a bunch of heaters underneath people's desks, space heaters, which eat up a lot of energy. Daylighting was really important. We were able to reduce a lot of the lighting demand. And I think this is the last slide for this project, just showing the comparison between the old building, which is actually a very beautiful building, and how we tried to take some of these cues, the horizontal banding that was there, these vertical fins that sort of start to translate, and the deep inset here, and just tried to make them similar, but having very different functions in a way to maintain, as we know, one of those goals was for the vocabulary to remain sort of in kind. So with that, I'm going to hand this over to my colleague, and alumni, by the way.
Yeah, how do you go forward?
With the arrows.
Okay, so I'm presenting PNC Place, which is a building downtown at 800 17th Street. It's the Farragut West Metro Station, if you want to go see it. It has two owners. The first one is PNC, the financial services firm, and they're a 51% owner. The second one is Vornado, a local developer, who is 49%. So we were trying to balance sort of two clients. PNC really wanted us to be green. They wanted the building to be platinum. Vornado really wanted the building to be rentable and very slick. So the building, you can see it has a great view of the Washington Monument, and this was really the selling point, and how it was, that was their vision of how it was going to be a very rentable and great new building in D.C. So PNC has a regional headquarters here. They're taking up the top 3 floors. They also have a branch bank, and then obviously they help develop the building. So all 3 of those are platinum, which took a long time, but was kind of a great feat, and I think they're very proud of it. They're looking for and do have some additional tenants in there. They're requiring the tenants who move into this building to be LEED certified. And I don't know of any other buildings in DC that are doing that. And so far the tenants are going for it, so that's good. Here's an image inside the lobby, which is where we're going to focus today. It's sort of the heart of the building. They wanted it to really be interesting for the pedestrian to walk by so that they could sort of understand that the building was green without going inside. So you can see sort of little tidbits. You can see the top of this green wall when you walk by, and then we'll see in a second you can see a water wall. This is the entrance from 17th Street, and I just wanted to talk about the materials a little bit. This is like the Vornado shot because it's very, very slick. So the white marble is from Danby, Vermont, which is the marble that was used to construct most of the monuments here, the Washington and the Lincoln. So that was a great connection. The metal mesh was from Baltimore. Cambridge made that. And then the black marble that you see sort of at the bottom of that water wall is North Carolina jet mist. This is what the entrance looks like from 18th Street. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the air temperature in the lobby. The air temperature in the lobby, because it's sort of serving as a vestibule for the building, you'll notice there's no revolving doors. The temperature fluctuates pretty widely. So let's say the office space is sort of going between 70 and 75 degrees. This lobby is maybe going between 60 and 80. So depending on what the temperature is outside, like on a day like today where the temperature outside this morning was in the 30s, the temperature in here might be, 65. So it's warmer than it is outside. It should feel warm when you walk in, but it's still very cold compared to your office space. And that's reducing the amount of energy. That was sort of a leap of faith for the developer to do that. There's no other buildings in Washington that sort of don't highly condition their lobbies. They were afraid initially that they wouldn't be able to get tenants. And so it was a big experiment. And I got the question before, so I'll just answer it, that the mechanical system for this room is sized so that it can be heated and cooled to 70 to 75 degrees, but we haven't ended up using it. So it's been functioning as planned. The building has a concourse level. So we have this glass bridge from the entrance, and it was important to bring light down into the concourse. It's hard to rent that floor, and we really wanted to make it very attractive. And so it ends up getting some of the best amenities. It has this great light well. You get access to that green wall. And then also you can see the water wall, which is going behind Amy there, is 3 stories, ending down on the concourse. So to talk about the water wall a little bit more, it's a metal mesh that's about 1/8 of an inch thick, spans 3 stories, and each of these are about 10 feet wide. The water temperature is sort of kept sort of neutral. So in the summer, when it's very hot and humid, it's cooler than the air in the lobby, and water condenses onto this, so it helps remove humidity. In the winter, when the air is very dry, the water wall adds humidity back to the building, so it helps regulate that. And this was also something where we were sort of pushing the boundaries with what developers were comfortable with. We didn't really know if it would work. We knew it would work in theory, but we didn't have an example. So we went ahead and tried it, and this one's working too, so everybody's happy. And I think, this wall was pretty expensive for us to install. And typically we have a budget when we do a high-class lobby like this for an art piece. And in this case, we took that budget and this became our art piece. We haven't really talked about the green wall here. So the green wall is works kind of like an alpha shelf system. You have these little sort of cake pan-like things that you grow your greenery in. It was grown in Florida. So when we started building the building, they started growing these for us. And it has a sort of little hooks on the wall. And then they shipped it over when the building was almost done, and we kind of hooked them all into place. There's a drip line at the top of it that continuously drips water down. And then there's a tiny slot at the bottom that acts as a drain made of that jet mess marble again. So it has a little return, and you know, they really carefully calibrate how much it gets watered so that it, you know, there's not a lot of excess. It uses just what it needs. And it also comes with a great maintenance program. If anybody's thinking of using it, they'll replace any panel that dies, which is very important to the client. And I think this water wall, just to touch on it one more time, was a really sort of pivotal moment for us where we could have both artful expression, sustainability, and something really crisp in the building. To move sort of up in the building as if you were going to work, we have the partner's porch, which is the concept that we use to sell this to tenants who are moving into the building. This is actually a view that sort of PNC ended up getting on one of their floors. You can see there the Washington Monument in the distance. And this also introduces one of the paradoxes of the building, which is the south facade is the one with the great view and wants to be the glassiest, which we had to resolve. So you can see that outer band, that outer 15-foot band, has a higher ceiling. It's 9 inches higher, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in DC, that's a lot. So we really had to work with our mechanical engineer to get them to slim it down. So that whole section is flexible ducts. There's no solid ducts in there. Very careful coordination with the lighting. This brings in additional daylight and also helps to recruit law firms, which usually lay themselves out like this floor plan shows here in a 15-foot band around the exterior. So it was a 2-for-1. We helped with recruiting and helped with daylighting. To resolve that issue on the south, we used Ecotect initially to sort of calibrate exactly how the sun was going to hit. And then we carefully, shown here as wood, got VE'd, which was very sad. But instead we used a metal grate, which ended up being great because we were planted underneath the metal grate. So more of the roof is planted than it shows here. And everything on the roof sustains itself by rainwater. And then this is the final image of the building. So when you get off at Farragut West, you can find it.